Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Unhinged Father podcast. I'm your host, the Unhinged Father. Hope everyone's having a fantastic week so far. You were all blessed last week with a longer episode, around 30 minutes or so, of me just going on and on about whatever type of baby shit that you should get when you're going to have a little one on the way, and then also some of the mental and emotional things you're going to need to work on as a parent. If you haven't and you're interested in those types of things, say you're going to be a parent, you want to be a parent, go listen to last week's episode. It's a good one, or at least that's what I've been told by the 3 people who have listened to it. But yeah, this week, low on time, low on energy, low on the ability to really do any brainstorming. So I'm going to just talk about something, really spitball a little bit in this episode, and it's going to be fairly short. I don't have a bunch of time this week. It's always crazy. It's always busy. That's just life when you've got little ones running around and when you're, I don't know what the kids call it nowadays, when you're adulting, but I don't have a ton of time. This is going to be a shorter episode, so I apologize. But what I wanted to talk about today was this. It's almost like this internal conflict I have within myself. If you've been listening to this show for any amount of time, or if you know me outside of the podcast, you would not call me a ray of sunshine. I'm not someone who you would say is happy-go-lucky or just this ball of positivity bouncing around the fucking room. That's just not me. But part of this journey with the podcast and everything else that I'm doing as a father, as a husband, as a brother, as a son, as just a person, an employee, everything about me, I'm really trying to get better as a person, to live this life to the best that I possibly can. And I guess I struggle with these parts of me. I have a very dark sense of humor. I'm super sarcastic. I'm dry. I have a fucking mouth like a sailor. I curse a lot. And I tend to gravitate more towards the negative. My rants, I'll find something super mundane and just be super negative and bitch and moan about it. Like Gen Zers wearing their stupid crew socks all the time to the gym, when obviously everyone knows that ankle socks are the way to go. They're aerodynamic. They're more cool in terms of temperature wise, and they're cooler to look at. No one wants to see your stupid long socks covering your cankles. Okay. So let's go ahead and move on from that. But yeah, this is something that I struggle with internally, is how can I become a better person if I still hold on to, like, part of my brain is saying, move on, be more positive. You only have a short life to live. You don't want to be stuck thinking about all the shitty things in this world. But then there's also this other part of me that's just like holding on to the fact that, no, you need some of this dark humor. You need some of this stuff to stay sane in this world, because those people that are just always so positive all the time, they're really a pain in the ass, and they're probably fake. There's probably something really wrong with them for them to be this positive and perfect all the time. So how do you come to grips with that? Can you become a better person while still holding on to some of these things that you really have grown up with and you've developed, whether it be due to past trauma or past injuries that you've sustained mentally, emotionally, or physically, whether it's just the environment that you grew up within, how you had to survive to make it to adulthood or wherever you're at within your life. How are you able to combine all of this? And is it possible to become a better person, to continue moving forward with your life and making it the best possible life that you can be, while still holding on to some of these things that you have? And I don't have the answer to it. That's why this podcast episode is going to be a little bit shorter. Maybe it opens up a conversation. I don't have the answers whether or not I'm holding myself back by holding on to and I'm using just a small sample size of some of the things that I'm talking about. This is for me in particular, but, you know, cursing, dark humor, looking at things from like a negative perspective, always looking at the glass possibly half full or half full, looking at the glass as like half empty, or possibly not even looking at it as like half empty versus half full, just looking at it as like full of shit. Are those things holding me back from where I ultimately want to be within life? And what if I like some of those things? What if I want to be able to like bring those things along with me? Is that a bad thing in and of itself? Is that in and of itself, that desire, that longing to have these things that have provided either comfort or humor or laughter or enjoyment in some ways, is that tethering me back to the person that I was in the past as opposed to letting me move forward into the future. And I'd like to hope that no, it's not. I'd like to hope that there's still space for it. And maybe like you have to tamper that down. I think that there's a place for the dark humor. I think that there's a place for all of these negative things that we've almost, for anyone who's ever taken a trip on the dark side, like myself, there's a reason why we try to find humor and enjoyment in the really terrible things in this world. It's because life can be super, super shitty and can really bring you down. And if you don't fucking laugh at it, if you don't find a way to find humor or enjoyment out of that shithole, it's really going to break you down. You're not going to make it out. You're not going to be able to get past these things, or it's just going to stick with you for so long. And it's almost like you develop this dark humor and this dark sense of, I don't know, I don't want to say being, but just this darkness that engulfs a lot of the things that you do, this negative aspect of you that is always kind of there. So I think that it's got its purposes. I think that it's there for a reason. We've developed a lot of these things for a reason. And I think that completely abandoning them isn't necessarily necessary. You have to be able to laugh at the really shitty things in life that happen, at least from my perspective. You have to be able to laugh at those really crappy things in order to move past them. And I'm not someone who has been to war. I haven't lost limbs. I don't have cancer, at least what I know of. So I don't want to sit here and tell you that I've had some extremely shit life and I've got all of this darkness that just surrounds me. But everything is relative, right? You have to take everything with a grain of salt, and you don't know what it's like to live in another person's shoes. Everyone develops their own personality and develops differently in their own environment in multitude of ways. So I'm not here to judge people if you're negative. I'm not here to judge the quote unquote trauma you may have had in the past or why you've developed certain these things. It's more so just like a question of where is that line? Where is that balance? And as someone who's been known as a habitual line stepper, this is more so like on inappropriate jokes and things like that. I kind of want to know when it comes to the balance between positive and negative, as any of you nerds out there might call it, the force. There is a balance between positive and negative, and you don't want to go completely to one side or the other, because really you can't have one without the other. They're like counterbalances on the same scale. And maybe that's the ultimate question, is like finding whatever it is within your life, whatever that pivot point is, to where you can live in both worlds. You can live within the positive and you can live within the negative, and then finding that point that balances you at whatever point in life you're at. And then as you continue to go down life, remembering to just check in on that pivot point and see if you need to move it, see if you need to kind of maneuver as you're going through life in different stages, different seasons. Do I need to move it more towards the positive or more towards the negative when it comes to like my personality, my thoughts, all of those things? Yeah, I think that that's ultimately where I'm going to land for today. And I think some of this has come up just because I've seen posts on social media where people have crappy stuff happening to them and they post really dark humor about it, or some sort of meme or GIF or whatever. And it's extremely dark, but it is also really funny as well. And there is a negative loop within social media. There's not just this, like, I think we've talked about it before, the perfectionism loop that you can get stuck within, and your own thoughts and mind really warp everything around and make you feel like shit because you're just seeing this completely fake and curated image that social media is shifting in front of your eyes. And it can almost become this like shitty tornado of perfection and just your inadequacy dragging you down. But there's another side to it as well. There is like that negative side as well. It's just all the negative shit, people being mean, nasty, cruel, dark humor, darker than any of the shit that I even venture into. And you could just see that almost like festers in and of itself and will, similar to the that fake positivity side, will send you down a spiral where you just feel like there is no hope. There is no moving forward, life is the way that it's going to be. And I'm stuck in this shithole. Like, I'm not going to be able to get better. I'm a terrible person. There's no hope for me to kind of continue to progress. So this has been a little bit of a, I don't know, weird episode. Like I said, not a lot of time to prepare and not a lot of time to record. These are just some of the things that have been popping into my mind and coming in here and there. I wanted to talk to a little bit about it, but ultimately I'd like to have more of like a conversation on this with anyone who's interested in talking about it. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know, are you one of those super positive assholes who just lives in a ray of sunshine with rainbows and glitter coming out of your asshole? Or are you more like me, where you're someone who lives more so in like the negative side of things with a little bit of darkness around you and the things that you say? But even if you're on one side or the other, trying to move forward and trying to become the best version of yourself that you can, to find that pivot point and find the balance between the positive and the negative. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. You can either shoot me a message. There's a website now. You can send me a message on there, or in the episode itself. If you look in the episode notes, at the end, it says, send us a message. It's a little link, and it actually texts me a message from the episode. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you're thinking. Even if you know me personally, use that little functionality at the end of the notes where it says, send us a message, just because I want to see what that functionality looks like. I've never used it before. It's brand new. We've got a new hosting site that we're using. So yeah, I want to further this conversation, but this has just been a very random ADHD driven, sleep deprived launch into this concept of the negativity, positivity pivot point, and trying to find how you can become the best person you could possibly be while navigating all of these things that are hitting you constantly as you go through life. But that's going to do it for this episode this week. I hope that you guys, hope that you possibly enjoyed it. Like I said, a little bit of a weirder episode. I was going to skip this week, but I just wanted to get something out there for consistency's sake. And yeah, these are some of the thoughts that go on in my head. It's a scary place. If you haven't already, give me a follow on wherever you get your podcasting needs met. If you feel so inclined, give me a review as well. I'm sure that it would help in some way, shape, or form. And yeah, if you like this episode, or if you've liked any of the episodes before, I encourage you, share the show, share an episode with friends or family or anyone that you think would benefit from it. And that's going to do it for this week. I hope that everyone has a fantastic rest of the day. And as always, be good, try hard, do your best.